I feel like I was one of those kind of people that was always a dreamer, and I had an idea of starting something. I just didn't know what. I was looking for that inspiration, and you know, when Rob and I got together, he'd been brewing for so long that the idea of like trying to venture out on our own and start our own brewery was just an idea that took hold. So we started really pursuing it in around 2002, and by 2004 we had, you know, scrabbled together the money and found an old brew system and just kind of cobbled together a brewery. I think the beer scene in Austin when we first started was just beginning to come into its own and evolve. Live Oak and Real Ale had had an opportunity to turn the scene on to craft beers, and so there was a little bit of a foothold in Austin, and I think just from the nature of people having traveled you know, in and out of state and having you know, new transplants from other parts of the country, there was definitely a lot of interest in craft beer in Austin, probably more so than in other parts of the state. So I felt like Austin definitely had good representation of out-of-state craft brands at that time, and so it was just a really good time, I think, to start a brewery. You know, the hardest part about getting started was more raising funds, because in people's collective memory in Austin, everybody remembered these brew pubs that had gone out of business. So when you said to people that you wanted to start a brewery, they're imagining some place that got shut down. And everybody said, you know, those don't work, those fail. And so it was just really convincing people that, you know, the business model would work and that there was this interest in craft beer. So when we first started Independence Brewing, you know, most of our local bars, you know, tended to have maybe 6 to 8 taps. And out of those, there was definitely your classic big 3 allocation, and not so much in the way of craft beer on draft. It tended to be you walked into a bar, and if they had craft beer, it was going to be in a bottle. When we first started, you know, people had either Live Oak or Real Ale on tap, so there was a mindset of, well, I already have a local beer, so I don't really need another one. So we really had to win our business on the merits of the beer, and actually just creating interest in our beer. So getting people to try it, you know, having these events out at our brewery. I felt like every day, every hour, we were just constantly trying to think of ways to get people to try the beer, and whether that be through donating to nonprofit events or taking it out to festivals, getting people out to the brewery. You know, that was pretty much how we spent the first 2 years of, you know, in existence. And I used to travel with, you know, our 3 beers in the back of my car and pony kegs iced down in these buckets, and I would have to literally like pump tap the beer into pitchers and take it into the bars and say, you know, pour them sample cups and say, here, try my beer. You know, that was because we didn't bottle it back then, so that was like the only way we had to transport the beer. So that was always, that kind of broke the ice with some bar accounts because they just thought it was so hilarious that I had pony kegs in the back of my Honda.